said, is Luke Nosek. Luke is a co-founder of PayPal. While he was there, he was the vice president of marketing and strategy. He helped release some of their most profitable products. And now today, he continues to help and support entrepreneurs grow and develop through the always innovative work at the Founders Fund. So ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Luke Nosek.
Thank you, everybody. I'm honored here to speak and share some of my thoughts with you at StartX and help you continue your very important work in building the next generation of great companies and mentoring the next generation of great companies in the world. And I also want to say that Peter Thiel really was going to be speaking first, but he is out on his book tour for 0 to 1, which encapsulates much of our knowledge at Founders Fund of building great companies. You should order it, you should read it. And it can help you a lot with building your company. But what I'm going to speak about today isn't about your startup. What I'm actually going to speak about and start a conversation about is how you are the most important startup and how you can build that and why it's quite important. Here's what I mean by this. With Founders Fund, first of all, as a preface, we like to have our founders running our companies for the long haul. So if the founder is not successful and they're not able to continue with the company, we consider that a failure. We believe that the greatest companies, the ones that have an impact on human life, a positive impact, are the ones that stay run by their founders. They're also the ones that create the greatest returns. So we want the founders to grow with their companies. Well, what does that mean if you think about a high-growth company? It's going to grow like 1,000 times or more in this hyper-growth within a few years. If the company, if your startup has to grow that much, if you want to be with it, you've got to grow that much too. So you're also a startup. And if you don't think about it that way, there are a few pitfalls that could happen, some that have happened to me which I'd like to share. And maybe share a few of the ways out of it as well. So there's 3 things I'd like to focus on that could really go wrong. One is how it could really hurt you personally if you're not putting attention on your own growth as a person, how it could hurt your company, and how it could hurt the world. And the first one I experienced quite a bit during my time building at PayPal. We were very successful very quickly. Within a year and a half, we had 1 million users with the #1 payment system on eBay. I led the marketing program at that time. We just merged with X.com. We created the #1 payments network together with Elon Musk's X.com and our company PayPal. And in a very short amount of time, we were both successful in our mission and financially, and we were personally financially successful. And I remember the day I first made $1 million. And I thought this is the thing I've been waiting for, which was so important to me, that was the main reason for building the company. And here I had it. It's like, we closed $1 million, it's in my bank account, and I suddenly start having these thoughts about comparing myself to other people and my friends. I mean, for those of you who don't know, there were 6 founders at PayPal. There was sort of numbered a certain way, like an employee number and whatever, but I wasn't the first employee there, and so there's an equity difference and a cash difference. It's something I'd never done it before in this way, where I'm comparing myself to my friends and to like everybody, other employees, everybody else. This took my focus off of what were much more important things, like building the company and the things that gave me satisfaction. And what I thought was the greatest success in the company, what I thought was the greatest success for myself, what I thought I needed for myself, which was to have the financial independence and that level of success, it turned out to actually hurt me and make me more lost and make me potentially less productive. I do remember that happened, and I ended up leaving the company early. I ended up feeling very unfulfilled at PayPal. I felt much more fulfilled when I was broke and when I just had the equity in the company. And what turned around for me was a few years later. A friend of mine, who's also a Stanford student, my friend Steve Osqui, he was visiting him in Austin, and he said, "Luke, you're a great investor." I mean, I wasn't doing that at that time. Founders Fund was just getting started, but we're still putting everything together. So you should you should be an early stage investor. You have enough on your own to do that. You can just invest small amounts of money because you have the ability to see people that are just beginning to have an idea where other people can't see them. And that's your gift. And you need to do that with your life. And it took me hearing that advice from someone outside of me and forgetting about the money for a while to start Founders Fund and to begin its work. And I know it sounds like very trite at that time, but for me at that, I didn't want to hear that. Actually, I didn't like VCs. I mean, the whole process starting Founders Fund was how do we make it kind of not like a VC in a lot of ways. So hearing that advice about you should really be an investor was not what I wanted to hear. And what I suggest to you in that is to seek out the advice of your friends who are telling you things that you don't want to hear. They might have the truth. They might actually be able to help you in that time when you have not been able to see for yourself what you need out of your own company. The second thing that could happen is that you could hurt your company if you don't grow quickly enough. And that happened in the kind of the middle part of building Founders Fund. We grew very quickly. We 10x'd our capital in 3 years. And I thought venture capital was going to be slow, and we were going to be able to take our time investing and maybe even go on more vacations than I did back when we were at PayPal. When we were at PayPal, we canceled Christmas vacation once. I mean, it was like, we can't have that vacation. The entire engineering team was from the University of Illinois, which is where I'm from, so we had to make this, like, we can't have Christmas. I mean, I thought maybe I'd be able to have a couple of vacations a year. Well, it turned out that year we were growing, at that time, very, very quickly. And what happened is Founders Fund began to lose mission because the thing that grew was the money. And not to say that money is an evil, we're capitalists at Founders Fund, most of the team is libertarians. But in particular, we had to focus a little bit more on the management fees rather than the carry, and on the growth of the capital. And during that time, Founders Fund was not as focused on its mission. And what I sought out is some executive coaching. And what I needed wasn't what was going to come out of this. What came out of it is I became resolutely focused on a mission, even more so than I ever was. And I found there was something deeper than just helping founders. It was helping founders who were building companies in technologies that could transform human life for the better. And at that time, we began to make some of the more seminal investments together at Founders Fund. It became what you guys know today as the company that's funding transformative technology like SpaceX, which I sit on the board of, for instance. And there was actually a difficulty there as well. It's not that easy to find a coach or a mentor. If you want to find someone to help you, you've got to convince them to take the time away from the valuable things that they're doing. In this case, I found someone I liked. I had to convince him, look, we're going to be raising this fund. We're growing like crazy. I don't want to just talk like once a month. I want you to be in the trenches with me, helping a bit for the next 6 months. I told him to cancel his seminars, which he was teaching once a month. And I said, I will pay you whatever you lose off of your seminars. Like, we have enough to be able to afford that. Whatever you lose, I will pay you. And he said, deal, I'll do this for a few months. And I said, suggest to you that if you have someone who who you think is really going to help you grow, it's probably someone who's really busy and that has grown things that are big themselves. And you've got to enroll them in your success and get them to devote the time and invest themselves in your success. And then they'll be able to help you grow in that time when you really need it. And the third thing that could happen is the thing that could go wrong if you don't grow as quickly as your startup does is you could actually hurt the world. And I'll provide I have many different examples of this, but I'll stick to the personal ones. When we began to invest in artificial intelligence companies, I felt for the first time my level of what I could take responsibility for is now not just a company that can affect millions of lives, but perhaps the future of the whole human species. Where if we create intelligence that's greater than our own, what does that mean for humanity? And it was just a question I was not quite able to grapple with. We looked at four AI companies at the same time, and investing in 2 of them, Vicarious and DeepMind Technologies. DeepMind was just recently sold to Google. And what I did in 2010 is I went on a silent meditation retreat. And I don't know what the path is for you guys, and I don't necessarily recommend that, or whether it's silent or not, but I remember this one point where when I came in, and they took my cell phone. And this is not something I was really comfortable with. They put it in a box, and they took my cell phone and my laptop. There was going to be no interaction with the outside world, just the time for reflection. And by day 4, I wanted that cell phone back. And I resolved I was going to go find it and break in to the office and get my cell phone. And I did. And they had moved it. So I got to be in science for 10 days. And no interaction for 10 days. And what happened was at the end of it, I'm not saying I can handle everything perfectly, but I didn't feel this kind of like weight of that was generated by myself. I didn't feel that there was anything wrong with me, that there was anything that I wasn't enough. And here it was, let's go make these great investments and help them, and let's have everyone at Founderston help as much as we can. And that was a very difficult thing to do, to be disconnected for 10 days, and really nobody understood it. I remember what Elon said when he found out, you're 10 days, should you be working? But I did it because of the projects we were working on, because I thought that I needed to go, if I'm going to be helping create a human mind, I should understand my own human mind first. And that's just one way you can do it, and there are many ways. And in some of the work that Peter and I are doing, we funded different work in understanding psychology and entrepreneur development. And hopefully that will come to fruition in the future. We'll be able to give you more specific advice. Right now, we just have stories and anecdotes. And I'm also really glad that you are doing all the work you are right now at StartX to help mentor and grow the next generation of entrepreneurs, because we need it. We need to create the best companies that are going to help humanity move forward, and we need to also be able to create ourselves in a way that we can grow and move forward as the technology moves forward so quickly. So thank you very much, everybody. And I've got a little bit of time for questions at the end of it, so you can hold the pause till then. How much time is there?
All right, who has questions? Questions?
Well, it won't be a super long question, but I would love to hear more about the research about the psychology of entrepreneurs, and is there anything more you can tell us?
Still under wraps. Thank you.
You want to stand up and yell?
Come
Sure,
there.
yeah. So I was wondering, how do you feel about retrospect selling PayPal so soon? Do you think that that might have been a problem? Because I know today with this new web boom, the founders, they want to keep holding on to the company as long as possible. Do you think that's the right choice, or was it the right choice to sell, back in 2002? Thank you.
It's very hard. It actually helps me with one of those. I can trace it back to something that I think happened with our team. First of all, it's a huge debate between, for instance, with me and Elon and Peter, who had different ideas about this. Then the other piece is, I think, if you ask David Sachs, what he had said is, the reason we sold is because the team was all burned out. And if you looked at the people that have been there the longest, they were just ready to put in the towel. So if you think about this other aspect of human development, which is just, are you sustainably having everybody just be alive and feel, not even grow, just be okay for the amount of work that they're doing, then if you're not doing sustainably, people are going to want to sell. Or you might want to sell at some point as a founder, and you might look back on that, and I do look back on that with some regrets, even though it's allowed the creation of so many different things today, like Founders Fund and Palantir Technologies and space. This all came out of ex-PayPal people. But I do have some regrets about it. I do see many things that were lost because we sold. And we sold. We say that we sold for business reasons, for strategy reasons, but I think we sold for psychology reasons, because we didn't understand